Hello and welcome back to Remoto. So today we are answering that question: should you buy an Interceptor or any of the 650 platforms in 2025? So Andrew, roll the intro and let's get straight into it. Alright, now you're back with me. So the question is, should you buy an Interceptor 650 or a Continental GT in 2025? Short answer, yes. In the video here. Go and buy one. Just go and do it. Don't need to tell you. But no, I honestly think that in 2025 it's a good buy. Reasons why is in New Zealand the price has dropped significantly. So now you can pick up a really nice stock or even a slightly modified Interceptor or Continental between $6,000 and $7,000 New Zealand, which is an absolute bargain for the amount of bike you can buy for that price is pretty good. And in comparison, most people compare this to like a Triumph Bonneville T100, and the cheapest one I found on our local marketplace TradeMe was $8,500, and that was a 2008 Triumph T100, so the carbureted version. If you wanted a fuel injected Bonneville T100, you're looking at about $12,000. So, you know, $6,000 for one of these in a Triumph T100 for $12,000. Is it really worth that much more? That's something that only you can answer. But we'll kind of go through a bit of the cons why you should buy this bike in 2025. And that's mainly one, is the price. Two, is that this bike is a multi-purpose bike. It's not just a race bike, it's not just a cruiser. You can do so much on this bike. You can go out touring, you can go hit the curvy roads like I do. You can do so much on this bike. You can commute. It's just such a utilitarian type of bike. It's awesome. The other thing on that is that you can make this bike suit whatever you want to do. So there's endless amounts of modifications on this bike that you can do, and you can really suit it to your needs. I know they just brought out the BS650, but if you want to put scrambler tires on this, go ahead. If you want to modify into more of a calf racer, you know, carve up your twisties like I've kind of created mine, go for it. You know, it's endless what you want to do with one of these, and there's so many options, and that's half the joy of owning a Royal Enfield, is that you can modify it to whatever you like. Moving on is comfort. So these bikes are actually really comfortable. They're a really comfortable ride for multiple day trips. Even with the GT bars, someone's asked me about how comfortable these are. They're actually really comfortable. I don't have too many issues. I am going to change out the Interceptor pegs to the Continental ones, but they're actually a really comfort bike. The stock seat is a little bit how you're going. It's a bit more like a plank, but there's so many seat upgrades for this. Once again, you can just upgrade anything on this bike. The other thing is that there's a really good club leading into day trips and rallies and stuff like that. There's a really good club in New Zealand for Royal Enfields. There's a couple of clubs now. I think the Auckland Royal Enfield Riders. There's the Owners Register Club, and then there's the Royal Enfield Riders, which is based out of Wanganui. And with that, you get some really good deals, like real cheap insurance. And you meet some really good buggers in those clubs. And I highly recommend, if you are in New Zealand and you're not part of the Royal Enfield Club, go and join one, because the savings are well worth it. Moving on is that these are a LAMS or an A2 approved motorcycle. So it really allows you to get your foot in the door with this beautiful style. And that's the thing about the T100 Triumphs. They're not LAMS approved, so you can't get on one of these. And if you like that style, you really kind of have to fall within those brackets. And when you're on your learner's license, or you wait on a Yamaha R3 on your lights until you get to that point. On that is that they have a really low seat height. So with that low seat height, it really enables for shorter riders. I'm only 5'5" or 5'4", not even that high. My bike's raised a few mils over stock. Mine probably sits around about 820 right now, because I've raised the suspension. But they allow for shorter riders to be able to ride on the A2 or their LAMS license, which is really good. And the thing is that yes, they don't have a lot of power, but it's very usable power. And what I mean by that is that these have good torque, so they really pull out of the corners nicely. They do really chug along nice, and as long as you're not in a hurry, you don't want to be Valentino Rossi or someone, they're absolutely fine. And on that though, because you can pick one of these up for $6,000, let's hypothetically say, and you wanted more power out of this, you could probably big bore kit one of these for $6,000 to $7,000 New Zealand. So now you've only invested $11,000 or $12,000. You'll have roughly the same output as a Triumph T100, and have about the same amount invested as a Triumph T100. I don't know what I'd prefer, a more unique bike or just a stock standard plain old Triumph. I think I'd rather go for this. That kind of leads me on to the old negative Nancy's. Negatives. Why wouldn't you buy this bike? Well, reliability. See, this is normally a positive, and I would put it more in the positive category than negative, but it's still a negative. I've had hardly any issues with this until recently, when the bike decided not to idle. And it's just little weird things that it does, like sometimes it would start and it would rev up to 4,000 or 5,000 RPM for no reason whatsoever, but it just seems to fix itself, like the old bikes of the old SDU used to do. Make a problem and then it goes away and you don't know why. But that is kind of a little bit of concern, and I do know people that have had these motors up to like 100,000 kilometers or more, and they still go strong. So the motors are built perfectly fine, but it's how's the electronics and the rest of it going to go along with it over a longevity period of years rather than just kilometers. The other thing is, like I said, power could be an issue for some people, but for me, that's absolutely fine. I actually find more enjoyment out of making a slow bike go fast than I do trying to make a fast bike slow that down and not use all of its power. The other thing is that these bikes naturally have terrible suspension in the front and the rear. The front's very soft from factory, and the rear is very unsprung. This is probably due to the Indian roads being probably a little bit rougher, but it doesn't really suit New Zealand roads, and especially if you start pushing the pace a little bit. I bottomed out the stock suspension a few times, and I'm not a heavy fella, I'm only about 85 kilos, and so that could be a consideration, is looking at an upgrade in the suspension. The other thing is that if the bike you buy has the stock seat tyres, throw them in the bin. For our road conditions here in New Zealand, where you could have a mixture of road surfaces between mossy roads and slick tarmac, then the seat tyres just don't live up to expectations. They were so slippery in the wet, they weren't any good. I know some people have great stories about them and they love those seat tyres, but I absolutely bloody hate them, and I would recommend it's the first thing that you change if you buy one. So that pretty much is gonna wrap it up. So would I buy another Interceptor? If I was new to riding and I was looking at a classic motorcycle, would I buy an Interceptor or a Continental GT in 2025? Absolutely. You can't go wrong with this. For $6,000, it's a lot of bike for your money. You can have so much fun on these, and I don't know where else you can get that value for money. Unless you buy a 90s bike, but we're talking about a 2019, 2020 bike for $6,000. That's really good money. Really good money. Also, on another note, coming up on the channel, I have a new bike. So there's going to be a new bike on the channel, which unfortunately leaves this one in a little bit of a holding pattern, because this was getting an 865 kit over the winter, but now it's making way for a new bike. So more updates on that coming, and I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you own an Interceptor or a Continental, drop a comment down below, because other people might be looking at buying these bikes, and you tell me your positives and your negatives on these bikes and what you think. I think they're a gem of a bike, but that's my own biased opinion, my own very biased opinion. But anyway, I think that's pretty much going to wrap it up. Actually, going back to another positive, these bikes sound bloody good. Yeah, these bikes sound really, really good. The stock bike doesn't sound that great. Once you put an exhaust on these Interceptors, whew, that 650 truly sings. And if you're no stranger to my channel, you would have heard this bike absolutely sings off the limiter. Way too much. So yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap up the video. Anyway, thank you for joining along, and if you enjoyed this video, please join in another time on Remoto. And if you like this video, please just give it a like, and if you hated it, tell me why, and tell me I'm a shit guy and I should shut up and stop jibber jabbering. So anyway, till next time, we'll catch you on Remoto.